Good morning, everybody. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. It is sunny, and no matter what we're going through at the moment with the quarantine, every day is a sunny day. And here to just make the point is that wonderful Jimmy Nash song, I Can See Clearly Now. And please feel free to sing along at home.
Welcome to the Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Kat Barnett, with flowers in my hair as a nod to Easter bonnets today. And I'm working with Charlie Jabos, Roy Haynes, and Richard Clark, and Michael Reason on piano, and with Reverend Matt Alspaugh, who will offer a homily. We have some announcements, which will also be posted on Matt's daily emails. On Monday at noon, we will have an initial meeting of an online Lake Chapala UU Fellowship Women's Group. We have 16 signed up. If you're interested, please contact Catherine Luria. We also continue our Fellowship Community Discussion Group online on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Use the same link you used to log in today. Let us light our chalice. Our chalice lighting words are by Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, and that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil. Let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space. Please light your chalice.
Our chalices are now lit. Our opening words today are by a dear friend in ministry, Reverend Evan Carvel-Ziemer. We served near each other in Northeast Ohio for many years. Our souls speak spring, she tells us. If we lived in another climate, our souls might speak other languages. We might speak oasis or permafrost, dry season or monsoon. But our souls speak spring. Our souls speak green shoots pushing through last year's leaves. Our souls speak flower buds stretching to sun. Our souls speak mud puddle and nest building, damp earth and worm castings, tiny green leaves and frog choruses. We speak spring because spring sings in us. We gather to nurture our faith in our own growing, our own courage to push through, our own blossoming in beauty, our own small part in the spring of this world. Come, let us worship together.
Each week, we take time to remind ourselves that we belong to a community which cares for each other. We do this by sharing any significant joys or sorrows in our lives. Joys that are too great for one heart to hold, sorrows that are too much for one heart to endure. Local and world events which call upon us to bear witness. In our daily sharing, Matt has invited people to email joys and sorrows to be read at our service. Several people have sent them. If you have a joy or sorrow to share today, you can also type it into the chat, and we'll try to read those aloud. Let us begin by recalling the joys. Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourself or others. We have some joys that have been emailed earlier. John DeWall is home from the hospital after a bout of dehydration, and he is doing fine. Lou Crippen continues to recover, but slowly, from shingles. He is still dealing with headaches and facial numbness. However, his eye is okay. You're welcome to type other joys into the chat box. Now, let us recall our concerns and sorrows. Whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing. Oh, Michael has a joy.
Last week I told you about my brother-in-law who had been admitted to hospital with the virus, and we were very concerned. I should start again. Last week I had a concern about my brother-in-law who had been admitted to the hospital with the virus. He was taken into intensive care, but I am pleased to say the family has great joy because he was released from the hospital on Friday and is doing extremely well.
Hooray! That's really good news. We are celebrating Peter's 80th birthday on Thursday the 16th, and happy to have found your online community. Saying hello from UU Catskills, the Hudson Valley, New York. Now let us recall our sorrows and concerns, whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. Again, we have some sorrows and concerns that have been emailed earlier. This is from me, Kat Barnett. Light a candle of concern for the Sackers at Walmart. I found out this week that those older people were not employees, as I had supposed for the whole year we've been here, but they're volunteers. Volunteers working for tips, I guess. I used to tip them now and then, but not often since I thought they were paid. Walmart has asked them not to come to work because they are at risk. But when they come back, I will make sure to tip them. From Jan Madding, my mother died 10 years ago, but if she had not, she would have been 100 on April 10th. From Diane Van Brocklin, she has been in the hospital since Sunday due to a kidney stone, which has been resolved, and other concerns. You are welcome to type other sorrows and concerns into the chat box. In the hearts of love and spirit of prayer, we give thanks for this time together where our joys can be magnified and our sorrows can be lessened. Blessed be. And now the care candle provided by our care team, which represents those sorrows that are too raw, too difficult for us to share aloud. We will light this candle for those sorrows which remain present but left unspoken. And the reading is from Kate Howell.
I'm trying to start the video. Thank you. Happy Easter, everybody. I have a reading this morning for us. It's called And People Stayed Home. It's by Kitty O'Meara. And people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened deeper. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone danced, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently, and
Apparently,
people healed.
There were some technical difficulties with Kate, so maybe she didn't have her microphone on. So I will read the reading. The reading is, And People Stayed Home by Kitty O'Meara. And people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised. Oh, okay. And listened and exercised and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened deeper. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone danced, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently. And people healed. And in the absence of people who lived in ignorant ways, dangerous, meaningless, and heartless, even the earth began to heal. And when the danger ended and people found each other, grieved for the dead people, and made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways of life and healed the earth completely, just as they were healed themselves.
I invite you into a time of meditation, a time to just find your center, find your balance. In these days, we oftentimes have so many complicated thoughts, and it's a particularly good time to bring ourselves back into a calm place, into the present moment. And the best way, I think, is just to start with our breath. To inhale and exhale. Deeply inhale and exhale. And just notice our breathing. Just pay attention to the breath. and returning here to be together again. Our hymn this morning is by Samuel Longfellow, who's the brother of the famous poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Both of them were Unitarians. Samuel became a minister and was a prolific writer of hymns. Yeah. We have this thing about phones around here. So Samuel was a minister, and he was a prolific writer of hymns. In fact, he published several books, several hymnals. And this is one of his hymns. Now, the tune, Easter Hymn, is probably familiar to many of you. Its author is unknown. It's rather ancient.
Our responsive reading today is the poem Merger by Julie Chicago. Judy. I'll read the white text, and I invite you to read along with Matt, the yellow text. And then all that has divided us will merge.
And then compassion will be wedded to power.
And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind.
And then both men and women will be gentle.
And then both women and men will be strong.
And then no person will be subject to another's will.
And then all will be rich and free and varied.
And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many.
And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance.
And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old.
And then all will nourish the young.
And then all will cherish life's creatures.
And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Good morning again. A few days ago, Liz and I were on a WhatsApp call, and she switched on to the video to show some of the progress she was making with the vegetable gardens she's putting in. And I marveled how the yard looks so green, and the shrubs and the trees have taken on that soft, light green of spring. North Carolina is in the midst of its spring flowering. In North Carolina, as our opening words suggest, the soul speaks spring. But here at Lakeside, we're in the middle of our dry season, and we won't begin the transition to wet season for another couple months or so. Now, I've come to see the beauty in the dry season, in the hills, in the grays and browns, the plants gone dormant, the nearly bare branches of trees. When I hike in the hills, I especially enjoy that I can see clearly now the vistas of the lake and the town below, vistas that will be obscured by foliage in the wet season. So here, our soul speaks a different language than spring. Our seasonal patterns of dormancy and rebirth here don't quite follow the patterns of winter turning to spring in the more northern climes. But there are similarities. For those folks up north, now is the season of warming, of greening, of rebirth, fecundity. For us, that will come later. Dry turning to wet brings its own sense of rebirth, regeneration. Now, this is the Jewish week of Passover, celebrating the Exodus, the escape of the Jews from bondage in Egypt. And that story is full of plagues. And of course, this year, Passover takes on a different meaning. And today is also the culmination of the Christian Holy Week, marking Jesus' entry into Jerusalem to attend Passover. Let's not forget, Jesus was a Jew, and acknowledging his execution and celebrating the miracle of resurrection. Now, for most UUs, but certainly not all, because we're an open kind of people, we've moved past the idea of the miracles in the Bible, including the idea that Jesus rose from the dead 3 days after he was killed. Such miracles are not central to our beliefs. And if we draw any meaning from the Bible, it's from the stories and the teachings, not miraculous events. For many of us, we look to the sacred texts of all religions in the same way for inspiration, not for historical truth about God or some gods that are performing miracles in the world. So, for example, when we learn about a weekly Bible study for Trump's cabinet and other Republican leaders, we recoil. The group leader, Ralph Dollinger, asks, "Is God judging America?" And he believes that, and I quote, "Those who worship what he calls the religion of environmentalism and express a proclivity towards lesbianism and homosexuality have infiltrated high positions in our government, our education system, our media, and our entertainment industry, and are largely responsible for God's consequential wrath on our nation." And I suspect you too, find this sort of Christianity horrific and misguided. For some of us, this has become the face of Christianity today, and it's a sad distortion. So Easter is a bit problematic for us. Many of us did come from Christian backgrounds, and we left behind those ideas of miracles, especially wrathful miracles. As we left that faith, we left behind those miracles of resurrection, second coming, all that, and we found our way into Unitarian Universalism. Some of you, consequently, have nothing to do with Easter, though if that's the case, you're likely off doing something else this morning. But other of us, having rejected the resurrection theology, still enjoy much about Easter: the music, the flowers, the pageantry. We also revel in the larger theme of Easter, the idea of rebirth, regeneration, of renewal. We readily mix Easter with far more ancient pagan springtime celebrations of fecundity and generativity in the natural world. Today, as we celebrate this kind of Easter in a time of pandemic, we ponder our relationship with the earth. Now, it does appear that the global slowdown due to the coronavirus has had some environmental good sides. Someone in normally polluted Wuhan, China, remarked on Twitter, "Today, the weather is very good. The blue sky, Birds and trees have grown green. And someone else in Italy posted, here's an unexpected side effect of the pandemic. The waters flowing through the canals of Venice is clear for the first time in forever. The fish are visible and the swans returned. And many people in many locales have reported seeing wildlife appearing in their neighborhoods. A deeper question being asked by many in the environmental movement, and that question is, what is the meaning of this pandemic? For many, it's a reminder to reevaluate our relationship with the earth. We're increasingly aware, for example, that this pandemic arose through contact with, and more specifically, consumption of other animals. I understand that China is now banning the human consumption of many of these animals. I was happy to read just the other day that these bans may include raising dogs for meat. Others are acknowledging that globalization, including in particular global travel, are contributing to the rapid spread of the virus. But for some progressives, the pandemic is a consequence of the wrath of another god, Gaia, who is judging humanity and finding us wanting. Gaia, the earth, the ecosystem, is angry and is punishing humanity for our transgressions. I find this form of theology every bit as dangerous as that of the evangelical Christian conservatives. Let's be real. There are things that we are doing that are damaging the planet and threatening our place on it. Carbon pollution, overpopulation, overconsumption, deforestation. Looked at through a particular lens, the Gaia hypothesis does have a certain validity. But I don't think we need a Gaia god performing wrathful miracles with pandemics to find meaning and lessons from our situation, any more than we need a wrathful Christian God. We live in precarious times. As progressive people, we need to be careful not to be drawn into illogical thinking, bad or vindictive theology, or conspiracy theories. The pandemic is shaking up a lot of old patterns and ideas, and we need to be careful not to replace those old ideas with new ones that are equally as problematic. In this time of pandemic, it seems that Easter has not quite yet arrived. It seems like we're still in a long, extended season of Lent, of waiting. It's hard to have hope in this time. It's hard to look forward to a brighter future. Look, for us here, this time of greening is not yet here, but it's coming. Easter, the rebirth, is coming. The earth will again awaken, and we can be part of that awakening. We can make new choices, dream new visions, and create new ways of life. And then, as the poet Judy Chicago tells us, and then we will all cherish the earth's creatures. We will all live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden again. Blessed be.
Let us extinguish our chalice with these words, which we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world.
The postlude today really reflects what Matt has just said in his homily, and again is another very positive song from George Harrison and the Beatles. Here Comes the Sun.
Our closing words. Lo, the earth awakes. Listen, yes, the rainbirds are singing. Look around. Yes, green shoots are arising. Have hope, for the earth is resilient and will sustain us if we care for her. Blessed be.